I feel like this is a good. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I feel like I'm asking questions all day.
No, you're not allowed to ask questions.
I would like to say, like, Felicia, like, he had a really good manifestation story. I know you have one. What would be a manifestation story of yours where you're like, I am in a space, I know I got to get something done, I can vision it, I feel into it, and holy shit, it fucking happened? Because I feel like the more and more people hear that this happens,
right.
the more and more people would be like, wait, I can do that.
But then there's like, I feel like when people hear this kind of stories, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they recollect things. I'm like, oh, that shit happened to me too. Like,
Yeah.
not exact the same.
But they weren't aware.
Yeah, but they weren't aware that was the thing. But anyways.
I feel like for me, I think I have a couple stories. But I also feel, I'll mention this after I say my story.
Okay.
But I would say the New York Fashion Week.
When that yes, I love this story.
Because I don't know why, but I knew what I wanted to do in photography. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to do more editorial, more fashion. I was like, but where can I find that here? And my brain immediately was like, you can't find it here. You need to go somewhere else. So I reached out to a longtime friend, my Ate Shrina, who lives in New York City. And I had not spoken to her in so long. But I just knew, I don't know, I just had this calling to just ask a question. And I was like, hey, I see you're doing amazing things with your makeup. She's done a lot to build herself up in her career out in New York City. And I know she works with photographers. So let me just ask a question and basically see if she knows anybody that would kind of mentor me. And the first conversation we had, she's like, well, what do you want to do? And so I basically outlined, like, this is what I want to do. And she's like, okay, perfect. I just needed to know what it was. And she immediately connected me with a photographer out there, like, that I could ask questions to. And I was like, this is nuts. And then in that same conversation, she's like, you know what? You should just come to New York. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, because Fashion Week is coming up. This was only like a couple months prior to Fashion Week coming up. And for whatever reason, in that moment, I just knew. I was like, I am going to New York City. I'm going to make this happen. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. There was no question about it. Like, it was just like this upwards energy of like, I don't know how it's happening yet, but I'm already there.
That was your jumping moment right there.
Yeah. And literally, I got off the phone. I called my husband and I was like, hey, this is what just happened. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but but I'm going to be in New York City. And so that day I started looking at airplane tickets. I started figuring things out with work. And then I booked my ticket and I had zero plans. But the day that I flew out, I had already agreed to assist this photographer for I think a fashion show. I don't know what it was, but yeah, no, it was a fashion show. It was Tanner Fletcher. They were doing a design and he was going to be the house photographer. So I was going to assist him during that day. But the day that I flew, all of a sudden, like, Ate Shrina starts calling me again. She said, hey, like, what are you doing the other days? And I'm like, I have zero plan. And she's like, okay, good. Because I have, so-and-so who might need BTS. I need so-and-so that might, need all these things. And literally the night before, it's the day of, I guess the day I arrived in New York, I all of a sudden had all these plans to literally be backstage in Spring Studios, which is, I guess, one of the main studios where for some of the designers. Like, I have no idea. I was like the most uninformed Fashion Week photographer. And then that whole experience was just beautiful because so many people were so helpful and so kind. Like, I went to my first behind the scenes and it was called Atelier Indigo, I think. A beautiful person, beautiful designer. Her clothing was very vibrant. And I was back there. There was another photographer. There's a lot of photographers there, and I'm very quiet. I'm very much introverted. So I wasn't talking to anybody, but all of a sudden people started talking to me. And this one guy, his name was Frank, which my grandpa's name is Frank. And whenever I hear another Frank, I always feel like it's my grandpa's presence is somewhere. And so he was like, so are you going to shoot the runway? And I was like, huh? And he was like, here, let me show you. And so he brought me to the pit, showed me where all the photographers are, like where Getty normally is, and where people do go to take like the actual runway shots, and that's when I started. That's where I was able to shoot my first like model on the runway, was because of his kindness, and was like, just put your stuff down and let me show you the ropes. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And
I love that.
and then I think from that point on, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm slowly starting to understand this idea of like knowing and believing, right? Because it's not just saying you're going to be there, but it's going through the feeling and having the visions and just putting yourself in that situation. Or it's almost like you're bringing yourself back from that situation because you've already been there. And so I was just extremely confident, and then I ended up going to Fashion Week again. But it was a beautiful experience. I definitely feel like that was my manifestation moment. And I'm still working on like the whole, like the energy around manifestation, because I haven't quite mastered the feeling piece. Like I see the visions, right? And I think I feel the emotion, but I think I still have doubt in there. So it kind of prevents sometimes like the actual outcome. But I was going to say the other side to the whole manifesting thing is I also think I get tested a lot because I'm always searching for certain things, or I keep asking for things when I think it's already there.
Because you keep asking for the signs, right?
Yes. It's
because
like I'm wanting this outcome, but in reality, I'm already living that outcome. And so I need to kind of like remove the shutters or the blinds and just be like, Felicia, you're in it. And I think that's why a lot of times I feel like manifestation doesn't work, is because I'm so stuck on like this specific outcome.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's more than just that. It's the experience, it's the journey. And so I think I'm slowly starting to settle into that and just kind of see where it goes.
The funny thing.
Surrender and
Yeah. The funny thing is.
Surrender, it's gonna come.